Check this out.
Welcome to BLPA Big Show. Hockey sports, life for the adult athletes.
Yeah.
Powered by the Beer League Players Association.
Better follow me.
Follow us at BLPA Big Show on every social media outlet. Follow the crew on Twitter at Nicker Jones and Trish at Trish Dangle.
Let's get it. Here we go.
Good week, everybody. Glad you guys are here. Glad we're back. I'm back with my buddy Jason. Jason, what's going on, my man?
Hey, Nick, what's happening?
Not much. Just, living the dream, holding on to like the shorts weather here in Calgary. Like today it was like 52 degrees. So it's like every day it gets a little colder. And I think this could be the last short day. Like it's supposed to be in the 40s next week. I don't think I can rock the shorts next week.
Well, you could always move to Tennessee because it is like 130 here, or at least that's what it felt like today. So.
Well, I'm going to Austin next week and then Vegas the weekend after that for the BLPA Bash. So I'll get to wear shorts, just not where I live. So I have plenty of opportunity. And speaking of which, warmness in the winter, we just booked a Southern California draft experience for December 10th.
I did see that. In fact, somebody texted me to show me that it was posted to Facebook, and I was super bummed because I know I'm not going to be able to fit it in. And going to Southern California is one of my favorite places to go. So I'm a little sad that I'm not going to get to experience it this year. But hopefully that means it'll be back next year, and I'll definitely put that one on the calendar. Yeah,
well, some competing companies canceled theirs. And it kind of opened up an opportunity, okay. And we actually got a call from a few people that said, hey, listen, like we were going to go to this other one, but they canceled. Like, what can you do? And so I hopped on the horn and was like, okay, I mean, if we can get it supported and like in 24 hours, we are like 40% full. So I think it's going to be supported pretty well. So super stoked about that one in Anaheim. But before we get going too far, the show is brought to you by the Hockey Wolf. Ow, 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 ow. Ow, ow. HockeyWolf.com, very rad people. Had a conversation with him today, by the way, but very cool people. Trav over there, he's just a beer leaguer like us. He's trying to find ways to make the game less expensive for us to get into, so go check them out. They have some really cool stuff, even some cool like BLPA stuff that we don't even have, and they're actually starting to carry our merch online, which is a big one. We talked about our merch getting into a big hockey store last week. It's not Hockey Wolf. It's already going to be there, but another one, large store. And hopefully it sounds like that's progressing pretty good from all the intel I got. And I don't usually get bad intel, Jason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, you're usually on top of it.
Yeah. So super stoked about that. So go visit hockeywolf.com. Ow, ow, ow. So a few things to talk about today. We talked to my buddy Trevor, interview at the end of this show about indigenous folks and this holiday they just had here in Canada called the Truth and Reconciliation Day. And here's what's strange is like, I'm from Oklahoma, which is, there's a lot of Indian tribes in Oklahoma. And I even have like card carrying tribe members in my family. And I don't know like the struggles, these groups of people have went through. And so when I came to Canada and then they call them indigenous people here instead of like Native Americans, obviously, because we're not in America. And they had these crazy things called like residential schools. And basically what happened is they took all the indigenous folks and took them to school. And in Trevor's words in the interview, tried to take the Indian out of them. And they were a really bad deal. And a lot of people, they sent their kids there and the kids never showed up. And they've been finding like mass graves at these schools. And it's been a big deal in Canada. So I just wanted to chat with him because I know he's part of a tribe up in Canada, and he does a lot of stuff around indigenous, like especially for hockey. Like he's an indigenous hockey scout, so he goes across the nation scouting indigenous players. So I wanted to chat with him about that, just kind of educate some beer leaguers because we're funny guys, we play a lot of hockey, but we also like to be smart sometimes, and we want to educate some people and just prove that our sport is for everybody. So stay tuned to listen to that. I'm also going to talk about Connor McDavid, Mr. Trash Can. Okay, he's not a trash can. He's actually the greatest player in the world, but he plays for a trash can organization, which in turn makes him a piece of trash. And we're going to talk about, I think, Jason's favorite topic right now, and that's injuries. Right? We're talking about beer league injuries?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I really just want to, we talked through it, and I want you to back me up is what I really want. So
Okay, well, hey, I'm here to back you up. Well, no promises. I might stick one in your ass. Just put my foot off in there and say, hey, sorry, you're wrong, bud. I've been known to do that to people. But I'm going to say that I'll hear you out with an open mind and an open heart and make a very well balanced and reasoned decision. And hopefully it backs you up because I want to support my mans. You know what I'm saying? And but first,
I feel you.
So we have this super top secret project that's coming up. I don't know if Jason knows much about it. I'm not going to tell you what the project is, but I'm going to tell you we're trying to fundraise some cash to make it happen because I think it's going to be really cool, really badass, and I think it's really integral to us moving forward as being I don't want to say a legitimate company because we are a legitimate company, but like a legit organization in this industry, I think. And so, we got to raise some money. It's a considerable amount of money. We could go get loans and stuff. Cool. We're probably going to have to do that, which is rad. But we thought, hey, everyone keeps asking us to buy our Dex jerseys, and we're kind of going back and forth on it. And we said, hey, you know what? Everyone keeps asking. Let's see if they're really actually interested in them. So we're going to do this fundraising idea with our Dex jerseys. We got the first 2 sets are on sale right now. We're going to make them for sale for 2 weeks. You order them. It takes 3 weeks to produce them, and then we mail them out to you. So you should have them by Christmas. So we have the military ones and the Letterkenny ones for sale right now on the beerleagueplayers.com page. So go check them out if you want it. Up at the top, it just says Jersey Fundraiser. You can click that. Help us out. Support us. And I promise you won't be disappointed with what happens when we make it happen. But that leads me to my first question of the show, Mr. Limbacher. What's been your favorite jersey so far?
Man, there is a lot of good choices in as far as like what themes have been best.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pokemon was always a hit. There's been several Pokemon themed ones, and those jerseys are they're so awesome that I still wear the ones I have here in Opens and Beer League, and every time I wear them, people are like, "Oh man, where'd you get that jersey?"
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good one for sure. But I actually think my favorite so far was from Cincinnati here a few weeks ago with the cartoon
those were badass.
NHL team crossovers.
Yep. And you were probably like you're a Preds fan, so you probably like that Thundercats / Preds mashup, eh?
Yeah, and I'm a Thundercats fan as well. Right when I was a kid, I used to watch the Thundercats, so that one definitely the best one in my opinion.
I'm a huge Thundercats fan myself, and I'm like to the point where I want to make an actual whole theme of Thundercats.
I'm down for that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of. I just don't know where to use it. LA's got one that I've been cooking for a long time actually, and I won't tell you what it is, but the name of the theme is going to be the high fashion beer league bougie draft experience.
Okay, I'm picturing some things just based off of that. I think I like where you're going.
Yeah, it's gonna be stellar and deadly. And if you don't come play, you're missing. I mean, I know you can't. I mean, I know you got family things, but it's gonna be pretty. I submitted this idea yesterday, and I kind of saw they had a little mock-up for me, and I was digging it. So I'm super stoked about that. And I've been cooking this one for a while. I just had to find the perfect city to do it. LA, perfect city to do it. So
because we're trying to raise some funds, does that mean one of these jerseys might be available for purchase here at a later date?
Yeah, I think we probably can do that for sure. For sure, we'll be able to do that.
Well, I'm always looking to help the cause.
I know, and my problem, and I know a lot of people are, and the hard part for me is I always think that like the draft experience jerseys are special, like people that come. They come and part of it is they get these jerseys. So I struggle big time with having to say, okay, let's sell them after the fact. Because for me, it's like, you didn't come to the tournament. You shouldn't get the jersey. This is a special circumstance. I don't know how many times we'll actually do it. I know it's a good source of revenue, especially if the fundraiser works. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, these guys are paying $350 to come play. Like, let's make it a little special. So this is kind of a special situation on the fundraiser, but that's something I do struggle with. So everyone out there that's listening, it's like, hey, I thought these were special. They are special to me. I feel like this is a very important thing that needs to be done. And instead of just asking people, doing a telethon and me talking for 24 hours to raise money, which probably would raise a lot of money too. But I figure instead of just asking people for money, we could give them something tangible. And I think that, I think that it's a good trade-off, I think.
Yeah, no, I dig it.
But the telethon would work.
So let me ask you this though. What's the commission's favorite jersey?
Oh, that's so hard because they're all my babies, really. I mean, I'm a history guy. Like those Boston ones were really cool because I was like, I want to do a retro one with history guys, and I was like, okay, well let's take it back to the 80s, and so I did like the 80s theme, but with like 1780s characters. So you had the neon and stuff, and I have another one cooked up that's like a 90s theme that I'm just waiting for some place. I wanted to do Saved by the Bell in SoCal, but my bougie one takes precedence. So next year Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell for next year.
Yeah. Well, now that we said it, we know there's folks out there that are competitors that they like to steal our ideas. So hey, look for our Saved by the Bell theme next year, and probably look for their Saved by the Bell theme too. But by judging by some of the stuff I've seen come out of other competing stuff, I think theirs will be way more boring. So that's just my opinion. Just my opinion. We'll be way fine. But anyway, okay, so that's cool, dude. If you guys have a favorite jersey, hey, why don't you let us know on Twitter? You can let me know at Nicker Jones. You can let him know at Beer League Jason. Maybe we'll get him changed to BLPA Jason. I don't know, maybe one day. Or you can let us know at the BLPA. So let's talk about this Connor McDavid thing. You saw like what happened with Connor McDavid and the Tanev, the defenseman from the Flames. And let me first, before we start this whole conversation about Connor McDavid and this play, I am not a partial party or impartial party in this subject. I'm a Flames fan. I do not hide it, but I'm realistic in the fact that I think the Flames are not a very good hockey team. I think someone asked on Twitter just the other day, like, what is your true feelings about the Flames season this year? And my response was, the Flames are not going to be very good at hockey. I'll watch, but I'm not going to enjoy it. Solid answer, right? And it's realistic.
Absolutely.
It's realistic. I love my Flames, and when I watch Oilers and Flames, I'm not impartial by any means. But when I look at this play and everything that came after it, I think that my argument has merit. So, did you see this play where Connor McDavid is screaming up he's obviously screaming up the sidewall? He's the traditional Connor McDavid move, blows by the first defenseman who is trash. It's the new guy that the Flames have that used to play for Zadorov, that used to play for the Avs, and then Chicago is trash. Yeah, he's trash can too. Skates by him like he's nothing. And then Tanev tries to cut him off because he's cutting hard. He's making that hard cut to the net, and you leave Connor McDavid, defenseless around the net. He's going to score every time. It's just the way it works, right? So, Tanev tries to step up and play some defense on him. It gets tangled up there. Connor goes into the goalie. Puck goes to Puljujarvi. Puljujarvi shoots it. It hits Connor McDavid on the way through. No ref calls a penalty on it. They do call it a goal. Flames coach tries to coach's challenge, because if there's no penalty on that play, which no ref called a penalty, I want to be frank, there's no arm up, nothing. When Connor McDavid goes in to the goalie, that's goalie interference. But obviously, because the Oilers, for some reason, and Connor McDavid is the golden boy of NHL, they're not going to take anything away from that fuck. They call it a goal. Good. It's a preseason game, so who really fucking cares, right? Like, that's, I don't really care about the record. And then did you see the press conference after, Mr. Limbucker?
I did.
So Connor McDavid comes out, and basically here I have a little bit of it. Hold on. So they asked Connor McDavid about this play, and this is his response. Oh, wait, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Hold on. Oh, did I not put it in? Holy. Oh, there it is. That's Connor McDavid answering this question in the press conference. Oh, if you guys want to hear it again, I don't know if you guys heard it enough, but they said, Connor McDavid, what do you think about this play? He said, that's basically what he said was, I don't want to go flying in there and the goalie doesn't want me going flying in there getting hurt. Defenseman playing, defense with the stick loose. He's the only one that's safe. And I'm just like, fuck. Like, what do you want this guy to do, Connor? Like, you're wide open in front of that. You want him to just roll out the red carpet? Like, isn't that what it sounded like he wanted? He's saying, don't play defense on me. Don't do it.
Basically.
Don't play defense. Like, what is this? It's just like the Edmonton Oilers fan base, man. Like, they're so they think that they earned Connor McDavid because they had 3 or 4 number 1 overall picks before him that didn't work out, so they earned this guy. So they have the mentality of just having things given to him. And Connor McDavid is the greatest player in the game right now, right? We would agree, right? Best player?
Yeah, absolutely.
Best player in the game. He doesn't need anything given to him. As a matter of fact, they should make Connor McDavid skate with a 50-pound weighted vest that Jaromir Jagr uses to train every night. That's what I think, to make it more fair for us. But to not play defense? Is this guy serious? Like, he couldn't be serious, right? Like, we know what he was doing. He was trying to set up refs for calls for the rest of the season, right?
Yeah, I mean, that the whole you shouldn't play defense that hard on me is like something that I talk about in beer league.
100.
So yeah. I'll agree with you that like that's. But what do you want a pro player to do? To just let you go in and score?
Yeah, especially when he knows you're the best player in the game, leaves you alone, you're going to score. But like, I don't want to go in hard. The goalie doesn't want me to go. Connor, you're the one that goes in hard. If you don't want to go in hard, then don't go in hard. Like, you know that there's a chance you're going to get hurt when you do that. It's a reckless play, in my opinion. I'm not saying he shouldn't do it, but I'm saying he obviously understands that the way he plays, the way he makes that drive to the net, it's dangerous. He could get hurt. Someone else could get hurt. And the definition of reckless is doing something even though you know the consequences. And that's what it is, a reckless play. So basically, like, to say, oh, I don't want to go in hard. Well, if you don't want to go in hard, bud, don't go in hard. Like, for me, if I don't want to fall off a roof, I don't go on top of a roof because I might fall off. I don't go like, oh, I'm going to go on a roof. I shouldn't fall off of here, because there's always a chance because I'm a klutz. So if I don't want something to happen, I just don't do it. If I know it could hurt me, I don't do it. So don't say, oh, I don't want to go in there hard. Just don't go in there hard, Connor. And maybe that changes your game. I don't know. But you do you, bud. If that's how you're going to score your goals. But if you're going to do it, you have to pay the price. You have to pay the piper. If you get hurt, you get hurt. You can't complain about it and say, oh, don't do that to me. Right?
And like you said, that if you watch highlight reel of Connor McDavid's goals, like, that play is the one that he scores all the time on.
Exactly.
So,
he did it 2 times already.
At some point, someone's going to step up, right, and try to stop you from going in there. And, when you're going fast and hard to the net and 2 people come together and get tangled up, like, that shit's going to happen sometimes.
And the fact of the matter is I don't think that players play to try to hurt each other. I think
right.
When they're on, I think it's a fast game anyway. And I don't think that Tanev even got his stick in McDavid's feet. You listen to what Tanev says, and Tanev says, he was trying to jump around me. Either we just got tangled up. It wasn't a hard thing. He went to poke check and missed the puck. Connor McDavid's fastest guy in the world. I mean, that's going to happen, right? But it's just like, I just don't understand. What was funny is I saw that meme that a bunch of Flames people put, and it was the one where the guy was riding a bike, and on the top it says, like, McDavid driving hard to the net, and then McDavid getting taken out, and it was the kid sticking the stick in his bicycle wheel, and he falls over, and then on the bottom it says, yeah, stupid, dirty Flames players. Good stuff. But that's my rant on, like, Connor McDavid's, world-class player. We all know that. I think it's bullshit that he's with the Oilers. Yeah. I think that the Oilers are a trash organization. I'm not saying that they're trash on ice hockey. I just think as an organizational standpoint, they suck. I think their fans, and I guess every group has shitty fans, and I'm just taking all the bad experiences I've had with Oiler fans over my lifetime and compounding them and putting them on every single one of the Oiler fans. But sorry, that's just what I do. So the Oiler fans are trash. Hey, my Flames team on ice product is trash right now too, so I get it. But fuck, man, just don't whine about it. Just go out and play. If you're going to make the play, take what you got coming to you. You're probably going to score how many goals doing that? You might get hurt. You might not. Just fucking do it. And if you don't want to take the risk, don't do it. That's my opinion from, a world-class beer leaguer, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, no. Again, I'm with you. You can't. If you're gonna make that play, you gotta assume someone's gonna play defense on you.
Good. I'm glad you're with me. Glad you're with me. Hey, maybe that helps your case with me backing you up on this next topic, since we're talking about Connor McDavid eventually getting hurt, talking about beer league injuries.
Turn it up.
If you're digging the show, support us through patreon.com/BLPA.
The most greatest.
Yeah. So here's my situation. So the reason that I ask about, just your thoughts on playing through injury and that sort of thing. Like 4 weeks ago, about a month ago, I had a collision with a goalie that you might know. His name is Frank.
Hell yeah.
Along
Get
the
him.
boards.
Get him.
And, actually, I got the worst end of it.
Oh.
So somehow in this collision, I did something to my hand. And my hand wasn't feeling good. I knew something was wrong, but I essentially played on it anyway for like another few weeks. And finally went to the doctor, and the doctor says, yeah, you probably got some torn ligaments in your hand. He's like, you probably shouldn't play, hockey for this season or a few weeks, or at least, take some time off. And I didn't tell Frank that I was going to be taking the season off, so he signed up for a team that we both play on, and now he's mad at me because I'm not playing for that team, and he thinks I should play through the injury. But in my opinion, one, it's his fault that I'm injured. And two, it's more important for me to take some time off and get nice and healed up because I'm not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be able to play for a few more years, right? So, I just wanted your thought on, should I tough it out and just go out there and play? Or am I doing the right thing by kind of taking some time off and healing up?
Well, that's a great question. I have some anecdotes of me playing through injuries before, but me, myself, I've been very injury prone here the last year as well. And I've been having to live through that. I'm not getting any younger, and I should probably rest it up. So right now I'm all for rest it up, to be honest with you. I missed a championship game in Washington, D.C. because my back was just absolutely fucked. Thanks to Jeff Peck, by the way, who freight trained me right in the middle of the ice. But, for Frank, just so you guys know the dynamic between Jason and Frank, they're best friends. They love playing on the same team with each other, and usually it happens. They've ran a lot of trickery to make that happen at past draft-style tournaments. Lots of trickery, I might add.
No comment.
And I guess they played with each other in Eagle River. Was it Eagle River?
No.
Or Nashville?
Frank didn't come to Eagle River.
Nashville?
Okay,
Nashville.
Yep.
I heard the story. And they actually they got mad at each other when this happened, and they actually weren't going to come to the next tournament. But then they did. But yeah, first off, let me tell Frank, you do that to Jason again, Frank. And you remember that time in Nashville when I came down all alone and just that I went bar down on you and it was so loud that it's still ringing in your ears today, 4 years later. I'll do that to you again. You do that if you try to hurt Jason again. Because this sounds, goalies don't just come out like that purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like he was doing it on purpose.
Right.
He was trying to cause some damage. And you know what? Frank will deny it. He'll say, I was just making a goalie play. But we know where goalies belong, and that's in their crease. They don't need to be anywhere but the crease. Right?
100%. Yeah, 100%. He was way out of line where he was at.
Yeah. So, this is definitely on Frank's fault. I actually think he should probably pay for some physiotherapy to make sure that you're back at 100%. Because I think this is one of the reasons too. I know we talked about goalies paying last week and that they should entertain us, but they should also take care of injuries that they're responsible for. So if they cause an injury, you're not paying league fees, kick that in for a little physio,
Yeah, 100%.
Because you need to get back to 100%. Because how are you going to function in life if you're not 100% on the beer league ice?
Yeah, and we've got the Vegas tournament coming up in a few weeks, and I'm like, man, I got to rest till then so I can play in Vegas.
Exactly. And so if you're not 100% in Vegas, like it's really going to be like we're really going to have to sit down, Frank. I mean, there's probably going to be lawsuits involved. Um, I'm sure the
Wait, is that
huh?
is that the big project we're raising money for?
Yeah,
Is
to
for
sue
lawyers?
to sue goalies in general.
Okay.
It's basically
Perfect.
like we're trying to make it mandated law that they either pay league fees or they are held responsible for entertaining us or paying for injuries that they cause. So
I'm with it.
if you've ever wondered why goalies don't pay their fair share of league fees, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying if you've ever wondered, you should go to beerleagueplayers.com and go to the Jersey fundraiser and kick in. So
Yeah,
just that's all I'm saying.
absolutely.
But no, I think for sure. Like, I mean, I can remember when I first started playing hockey, I hurt my back really bad, where I was having to get like steroid shots injected. I remember my first steroid shot, my back had been hurting for probably 2.5 months. I was toughing it out. And you know what's weird about it is the only time my back didn't hurt is when I was playing hockey because I guess all the adrenaline going through you. But
Right.
I remember like it was pretty bad. Like it was affecting my life pretty good. And so I had to go get my first steroid shot, and I got it on a Thursday, and our games were on Sunday. And the doctor's like, "Well, you got to rest for a couple days. You know, we don't want the steroid to metabolize too quickly." Yada yada yada. Well, first day after the steroid shot, I was perfectly fine. Like it worked 100%. I was ready to go, and I was like, "Well, listen, Sunday's 3 days." He said 2 days. I got to play Sunday because we're playing the other worst team in the league, and I have an opportunity to maybe score my first goal ever. And long story short, I did score my first goal ever in that game, so it's a good thing that I did. But then, like 3 days later, my back was back to hurting. So I don't know if there was any, cause or correlation. Usually, the steroid shots is a 3-shot, system. So I got the other 2, and my back was good for another year and a half. But, I was younger though. I wouldn't do that now. Like with my back,
Yeah.
I basically set out for 2 weeks. It's like a week and a half. My wife was still helping me put on my shoes. That's how bad it was. And then I was back. So I take it pretty easy, especially on back stuff. If it's like my shoulder, and my shoulder's fucked anyway, so I just like let it go because they basically said you're on our surgery wait list, and the only thing you can do is rip your rotator cuff in half, and if that happens, you'll get right into surgery. So I'm just like, fuck it, we'll see what we can make happen. But yeah, I'm with you. I would have taken off, especially if it's a hand. I mean, you that's how you make your living, buddy. I mean, you're scoring genos, fucking sniping. Like you can't just go out there with a bum hand and expect to be the player that you always are.
Yeah, exactly. And the funniest part is when I went to see my doctor. So this is a quick story that'll spin off of here. But I went to see my doctor to ask him about it, and he's a Canadian guy who played hockey his whole life. He played beer league down here in Nashville for a long time, in like B league, or I think he subbed in A league. So a good solid hockey player. And so he's asking me about my hand, and I'm telling him it's when it hurts, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I had 3 breakaways last night, but my hand hurt so bad when I went to shoot, I couldn't even get the puck off the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And my doctor, who's like 60, just looks at me and goes, "Well, why didn't you just deke and go 5-hole?"
Whoa.
And I'm like, "Well, doc, if I could fucking do that, doc, I would have, but I can't. So I don't know what you want from me."
So now the story's getting deeper on Frank because now he's cost you 3 goals.
Yeah, at least.
Oh boy, he's got another thing coming, I think.
Yeah.
So, well,
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
Well,
we get these lawyer fees up.
yeah. Well, hey, what's the worst injury you have played through? Is it this one?
Yeah, I think it probably is because, again, I got to go get a full MRI, but the doctor's pretty certain that there's some torn ligaments between my pinky and my ring finger, but like further down in my hand.
Yeah.
And I've never really been injured in hockey before. Like this is really the first one that I've had.
Well, I hope it's not one of those ones where you get one and they just start kind of rolling downhill. Like I took a puck in the back of the leg, like on my calf, and my calves are like monstrous. Like they're basically godlike calves. I took a puck back there, and it doesn't hurt anywhere but like the side of my knee now, and it's only when I like squat down or try to get up from sitting or laying or whatever. And man, it is so painful. But it's like I've never had any knee issues. I don't know if this is a knee issue or if this is from like this puck hitting me in the back of the calf. Like, and this happened like in Cincy, so it's been quite a while. So I don't know. It's just one of those, you get old and you find stuff that hurts. And then you look at like my kid today, like he's playing, he's swinging this little metal he's got around, and it hits him in the face and cuts open his eye, and he cries for like 5 seconds. And I'm like, does that hurt? Because it looks like for me, I'd be hurting for like 2 weeks. And he's like, nah, it doesn't hurt anymore. I'm like, my man, when you're young, it hurts for a little bit, and then you're done.
Easy.
Then you're done. So.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, but I blocked a shot recently. And, it left a pretty good bruise.
Yeah, well, I did know that, and I saw it many times, and I wanted to show you.
Okay.
I blocked a shot too. We were in where were we at last one? Charleston, South Carolina. We're in a game where we're winning pretty handily. So I'm like, I'll jump back on D and give this team a chance to walk around me and score some goals. Because that's exactly what my goalie needs when he's pitching a shutout, right? And
right.
But I did it anyway because fuck them. They should pay, right? But anyway,
yeah, absolutely.
They actually did. They're decks. But this guy winds up for a fucking clapper right in the front of my toe cap, and it hurt so bad. My toe turned black and blue for a week and a half. It's back to normal now. Still a little tender, but those ones that hit you in the toes, bud. Those are blocking shots is for the birds. But you know what I did do? I went to the stats and I added block shots to the stats and just put 1 for me. So I led the tournament in block shots.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's what you do when you run things,
Yeah.
So
put in the work.
But hey, why don't you let us know? I mean, we always want to engage with you guys online. What's the worst injury you played through? What's some injury advice you have for my man Jason over here at Beer League Jason, at Nicker Jones at the BLPA? Okay, we're gonna throw to the interview here, and then we're gonna come back and finish this up. But this is my interview with Trevor Eiserhoff. Trev's my buddy. We played some hockey. Jason's played with him before. And we're just going to talk about, indigenous hockey and Truth and Reconciliation Day. And just, if there's anything that you guys, we want you to take away from it is that, hey, hockey's for everyone, and the BLPA and the sport of hockey, we accept everybody. And if you have any questions about what Trev has to talk about, you can find Trevor, you can find us and ask us, and, try to educate yourself, because it is important. A lot of people going through some shit that we don't know about. And, it's just kind of a cool thing to find out what your friends and stuff and, the life that they've traveled and how you can better understand some things. And, so here's Trev.
Yo, crack open a cold one. The BLPA Big Show is coming right at you.
All right, guys, I got a special guest here today, and it's really a guest that I wanted to have on because I want us to learn and let people kind of see beer league and hockey from a different aspect and avenue. So I have here, his name is Trevor. He's a member of the Moose Cree First Nation. He's a hockey scout. He's also the Superior International Junior Hockey League's first ever Director of Diversity and Inclusion, and he's one hell of a hockey player, my buddy Trevor Eiserhoff. Trev, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Nick. Well, thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for coming on. Hey, and just before I start off, I just want to tell you guys about Trevor. He's going to tell you he's not a very good hockey player. He's told me that 100 times, and he says, put me in a lower draft round, And then he comes out, and all he does is put Genos up on the board. So, Trev, why don't you speak to your hockey playing experience and tell people how many Genos you actually score? It's a lot, right?
Not that much. I think I just got lucky. I think I was just closing my eyes and just shooting the puck and just hopefully it was going to hit the net. But yeah, I played hockey my whole life. I was fortunate enough to play AAA and junior. Had a cup of tea playing pro down in the States, and now I'm playing old timers hockey and playing some beer league tourneys.
Yeah, well, that's basically where we all end up. Doesn't matter. Even the greats like Connor McDavid eventually is going to be a beer leaguer, and then maybe I'll have my shot at him. Just because I feel like I could handle Connor McDavid in a beer league game for sure. But we played a lot of hockey together. We played a lot of in the draft style tournaments and doing all that kind of stuff. And obviously, you're out from Kenora and you're a member of the Moose Cree First Nation. Why don't you talk to your experience as a hockey player and the indigenous culture and just a little bit about hockey in the indigenous culture? Because I see these huge beer league tournaments they're a big deal. Like I saw documentaries on ones where they fill the stands with them. They're played for big money. So let's talk about those.
Yeah, First Nation tournaments are huge up here in Canada. you have some tournaments that are worth $10,000 up to like $50,000 for first place.
Holy moly!
You can be Métis or have your full status, and a lot of it is just getting together with old teammates and old buddies and just putting a team together and just hope you win that championship money. You have some communities that invest and pay players to pay. Like you get these former junior players, former semi-pro players, and they'll pay them a good amount of money to play for that certain community for a chance at that grand prize. So it is like some guys can make like $2,000-$3,000 playing in these tournaments a week. So there's maybe 2 tournaments a month. So that's like sometimes that can be a job, like working winters and just playing in these tournaments.
Well, yeah. Who's the ringer for hire? Those videos that you post on your page. You guys say you give them $1,000, they'll get you to the ship.
Yeah, you got Colton Yellowhorn. He's from south of Calgary. I think he's playing in Europe right now. He played in the WHL. He played in the AHL East Coast League. Another one is Racy Rabbit. He was drafted by the Bruins.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Calgary, and you get a lot of these former junior and pro players that can make a good coin playing in these tournaments.
Yeah, I always laugh. I mean, I know there are the real deals, but then there's also those guys that do the comedy sketches. That those two. Yeah, you just posted a video just the 2 days about those. That guy that puts on the boots and goes out on the ponds and sniping Genos and telling people, come get me, I'll get you to the ship.
Yeah, he goes by the name, his comedy name is Smudge Pen, and he's based out of Edmonton. So he uses that comedy to towards his public speaking and just be able to connect with people that he's talking to. So it's hilarious. I love watching his video clips because he's connecting to everyone with his comedy.
Yeah, I actually want to get him as Smudge Pan into one of my tournaments and let him play and see if he can really get people to the ship.
I think he'd be a ringer for sure.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys. He's like, those on the bench guys. They look like they're not very good at hockey, but I've actually played with them in a league, and they're actually pretty darn good at hockey, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I heard that too. I saw them play in Minneapolis, and they were skating pretty good.
Yeah, they can play. So, we talked about kind of your hockey history and where you grew up playing, but as a scout, it seems like when I did my research on you, Trev, I was Googling you, checking your hockey DB and all that stuff. I came across that you do scout, and you kind of scout coast to coast for the indigenous players. So speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I was asked by the Cam River Fighting Walleye that play out of the SIJHL out of Thunder Bay, and the owner and GM approached me if I would be interested in being a scout, looking just for First Nation players, and I'm the only one in Canada of all the junior teams that has that specific title. So, and it's going good. A lot of it is I'm asking like former players and my former teammates for help. That can you look if you know anyone in that region, can just let me know. And so I'm getting a lot of help from former teammates. So it's a fun gig. I'm enjoying it, and I can happily say I'm the only one in Canada to have that job title.
That's pretty rad. Well, how's the talent? Because obviously, I mean, you look at hockey in a sense, and it's been, I guess, majorly a sport for white people, I guess, when you look through it. But now here in the recent years, you've seen a lot of minorities kind of step up and start to make their mark on the game through NHL and even the lower leagues, the juniors and all that stuff. So how's the talent level in the indigenous communities, and how is that kind of starting to rise to the top to these junior levels and then into the pro level game?
The talent has always been there, but there's always been major factors, major problems like leaving home. Like most communities, most reserves are tight knit, like 500 to 1,000 people. So when a kid leaves their community and they go to a city that's 500,000 people, 100,000 people, they're going to be homesick. They're going to have a hard time adjusting because they only know that reserve life where it's a small knit community. But nowadays, I think it's getting easier with like social media than with all the technology. Like you could FaceTime your parents, FaceTime your any family member, but back then we didn't have that. So a lot of the times we were always homesick. So I think that is probably like the one major problem that we're getting over is just that homesickness, because it is hard for a teenager to move away from home to a brand new city and move in with a brand new family, a brand new school. So it's something that I think it's a lot of players are overcoming, and it's good to see.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. Like I never really thought about that until like I got into college, and I got past college and I started playing competitive softball. And in Oklahoma, you know, there are a lot of Indian tribes, and a lot of those guys, much like Canada, like those guys play hockey. These guys play softball, and I always saw the greatest ball players out at these tournaments, and they were always playing, you know, for tribal teams. And I would always say like, well, like, how did you not go? Like, how did you not go anywhere? And like, didn't want to leave home. We knew home. That's what we knew, and we didn't want to leave away. So, you know, it is great that social media and technology is making the world a smaller place, and you know, making opportunities for people that in the past couldn't do that. And so, one reason why I wanted to bring you on is, you know, I mentioned Oklahoma, and I grew up around, you know, a lot of Indian tribes. And up here in Canada, we just had our first ever Day of Truth and Reconciliation. And that was a day that was kind of brought forth to remember the survivors and the ones that were lost through these residential schools in Canada. And this is something that, you know, I can't really speak to because I'm not very educated on it, which is why I reached out to you. And I can remember you 4 or 5 years ago telling me, you know, hey, I can't participate in this because, you know, there's some theme imagery that, you know, represents those residential schools. And at that time, I didn't understand until you said, you just look here, look here, look here. And that still wasn't all the information I needed. So I wanted to bring you on here so you can educate some of us beer leaguers about, you know, one, the struggle of, you know, the Indigenous person in Canada, and exactly what residential schools were and why we have this Day of Truth and Reconciliation in Canada.
Yeah, like with residential school, it was made by the Canadian government and the churches to gather up First Nation children to try to get, as they would say, try to get the Indian out of the child, to make them, I don't want to say, like, to assimilate them to the Canadian culture. And it went on from the late 1800s till 1996. That's when the last school closed down. And personally, with my family, I had 3 generations of people, like family that went to residential school, like my great grandfather, my grandfather, and my parents, and I had a lot of aunts and uncles that went. And it was like bad. Like they had a lot of physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. So, and with this Truth and Reconciliation, the government and a panel of First Nation people came together and made it so we could move forward and we can start healing together and start just moving forward and try to forget the past and just make Canada a better place to live, just not for First Nations people, but for everyone.
Mm-hmm. And I guess this came to light because I guess there was some mass graves that were found, and you know, you read about it and you think, in the States, in the southern states, you always think about slavery and how they were treated, and you don't really think outside of that. For me, growing up in the States, you don't think about that, and then you come to Canada and you realize that these kind of atrocities happen all over the place, and you try to figure out why, and I guess you don't really know why that kind of stuff happens. But I found the story. I wish I could remember the lady's name. Why everyone wears an orange shirt on that day? Do you know the lady's name?
No, I don't know. But yeah, like you said, there was over 300 residential schools in Canada, and in Kamloops, BC, where they first found 215 grave sites. So it kind of makes you think that, like, personally, I think if you check all 300 plus residential schools, the property, that you'll find grave sites, and it's unfortunate, and it's a dark spot in Canadian history, and I think it's gonna, when more people know about the history, more people will heal, and just people will understand what First Nations people had to go through.
For sure, because I mean, a lot of people don't know that, and I just looked up this lady's name. You'll have to help me with the name of the First Nation, because even though where I'm from, I can pronounce all the tribes. In Canada, like, it's a way different. Like I Choctaw, Seminole, Arapaho, Potawatomi. I can nail those, but in Canada, like this one that it's like STSWECEM apostrophe CXGAT. I'm like, I can't pronounce that. But the orange shirt, which is what they ask people to wear for the Day of Truth and Reconciliation, it relates to the experience of a Phyllis Webstat. She was in the northern Shuswap. On her first day of school, where she arrived, she was in a new orange shirt, and it was taken from her. And it's now the symbol of stripping away culture, freedom, and self-esteem experienced by Indigenous children over generations. And so it's really cool that, that you have that thing to kind of gather around and say, okay, everyone wear an orange shirt, and then we can talk about it, because I think the number one thing that keeps people from learning or changing how they used to do is the ability to talk about the things. Because even for me, like moving to Canada, like I live in a neighborhood where there's a bunch of people that are from India, and I don't know Indian culture, but I always had questions. But in where I'm from, it was kind of like, don't ask questions, just go about your day. And here, like, I could say, hey, why do you do this? What's this all about? And so now I have a better understanding. And so I feel like something like this day, the Day for Truth and Reconciliation, is a way that we can start asking questions. And then once we ask questions, we can learn and educate ourselves and move forward and be better. So I'm super stoked that we have something like that going, and super stoked that you're here to kind of, let me ask questions about it and get the thoughts from your side, because you have a way different perspective than I do.
Yeah, I'm always willing to help if someone has a question. Like you know that saying, there's never a dumb question. So I'm always willing to help, and don't be afraid to ask, because a lot of the time someone will share a story, someone will share an experience with you. So I know you might be shy and maybe afraid, but just go there with an open heart and open mind and ask a question, because more than likely someone will just share an experience with you, and you and the storyteller will feel so much better knowing, and you'll feel way better just that you asked the question. So yeah, just go with an open heart and open mind and ask.
Yeah, with just curiosity and out of love and respect. And like, I think a lot of it too is, like, some of these questions are, I mean, they're hard to ask when you talk about, residential school and mass graves. Like, it's hard to ask about that, because me asking about it, I don't want to offend anyone, and I don't want to bring up, I don't want to make people sad or upset. And so I can see where there's kind of that you don't want to ask just because you don't want people to feel that way. But, and it's hard. It's hard to ask, but it's hard to answer. But I think that, by doing both, the asking and the answering is the way forward. So, where can people learn more about this? Like, do you have any kind of insight onto where something like that can be done? Like, if people have more questions, like where can they go to learn?
I know that there's a Truth and Reconciliation website. I think it's www.nctr.ca, and there you will have a list of what the Commission and the Government of Canada came up with, and now the Government of Canada will start I think there was 93 different orders. So now the government will start working with First Nations people and start checking those boxes off. So I know it's going to take a while, but just as long as we're moving forward and we're all healing together and just united as one, it's going to be a big step moving forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, I congratulate you for getting there, and I'm glad that all the Indigenous people will let all the other people kind of share in that truth and help them move forward. I think that is a big thing. I'm super stoked about it. So now that people know where they can find out some information, about the Truth and Reconciliation, let's talk about where they can find some Indigenous hockey news and player interviews, and that's the Res Hockey Podcast, and that's a podcast you're hosting. Tell me about it. Tell people where they can find it, and let's talk a little hockey.
Yeah, I came up, I love listening to podcasts. I'd listened to you for a number of years, and you got the Spin Chiclet guys, and you get a whole number of different podcasts. So I decided, you don't have one for First Nations, and there's a lot of good former and current players, and I wanted them to share their stories. And luckily, we have a young crowd, a lot of teenagers listen to our podcast. So I want them to hear what it's going to take for them to make it the junior, make it the pro, and what they have to do to make it to that next level. So it's just having old players sit back and tell their stories, because a lot of playing hockey, it's always fun.
Mm-hmm.
Away from the ice and the dressing room, you're going to have so many funny stories. And so I just want people, former players and current players, to share their stories and just have a bright side of the game of hockey. And it's been going good. We have the show once a week, and we're on Apple, all the major podcast platforms, iHeartRadio and Spotify. So we have a new episode every Tuesday. So, and it's going good for it so far. I'm enjoying it, and I'm continue to do it because a lot of people are enjoying it. Just not First Nations people, but a lot of different people, and that it's good to see that we're all coming together just to listen to a podcast. So it's going good, and I'm having a lot of fun.
Well, good. And you can find it at Res Hockey. That's REZ and then hockey. Just search for it on Apple or wherever you find your podcast. And they have a lot of great players. I've listened to a few interviews, and I'm really entertained. When I get to I travel around a lot, so I have a lot of time on airplanes and cars, and so I'm always listening to podcasts. And you guys have been pretty good, and you got some good player interviews on there. I do have some more kind of Indigenous questions, just because I want to know from your side. One of the hot topic buttons here in sports anyway is the use of Indian names on teams. How do you feel on that? Is that something that is important to you? Is it offensive to you, or are you just kind of one of those things it doesn't really bother me?
To a point, I will find it offensive. I mean, you have the Florida State Seminoles, mm-hmm. and that's a very, I love their logo. It's totally different compared to the Cleveland Indians, right? Where who looks like that,
yeah. And his name,
just as long
Chief Wahoo.
Just as long as you're showing respect, right? I don't want no one to disrespect any culture, let alone my culture, which is First Nations and Indigenous. So
mm-hmm.
just as long as you're showing respect and just keeping it respectful, you don't have to start painting your face with different colors or wearing a headdress. I mean, the Chicago Blackhawks, it's a very beautiful logo. I love that logo. And it has a strong history, and just as long as people are respecting it, right? So I don't mind it. Unfortunately, I was a big fan of North Dakota University, the Fighting Sioux.
Yeah.
And unfortunately that had to go. But this is, like I said, just as long as people are showing respect and just not making fun of our culture, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was always curious. I mean, the Redskins, I guess, was kind of on the border. They got rid of that. The Indians, obviously, they got rid of that one. But yeah, I always loved the Florida State colors anyway. So I was a huge Bobby Bowden fan. So I always thought that was cool, and I always thought it was kind of I always thought they were kind of honoring like the heritage in Florida because that's where, you know, the Seminoles were from. And then, you know, the way that I guess that there's a lot of stuff has kind of come to, you know, there's I guess a divide on, you know, when they have the Seminole guy right out in the middle or at the first of the game and throw the sphere. And so I just was always like, well, I mean, I thought they were just trying to honor, you know, that culture. So it's good to hear that most of them don't seem to be offensive, but the ones that were have kind of went away from that. So how about you tell me your best? You say you like to just sit around and tell hockey stories about off the ice, and that's what Beer League is all about. And the BLPA Big Show, the Beer League Players Association, we're about those off ice stories. So how about you regale us with one of your best off ice stories?
Ooh, can this be rated R or
yeah?
PG?
Hey, rated X, bud. You can hit it hard.
Okay, I have this one funny story. We were I was playing junior, and we were all sitting around the dressing room. We were sitting around before practice, and there was a group of us. Then all of a sudden, we had this kid on our team named Jamie, and he was like a complete bonehead. He was like I think he's rung his bell too many times. Then he decides to go take a number 2 in our team bathroom in our locker room, and he comes running out. There's no toilet paper in the stalls. Then he bends over butt naked in the middle of our dressing room. And he goes, "Do I have anything in my ass?"
Oh my God.
And of course he's going to have like crap all over him. He didn't wipe because there was no toilet paper. It was so funny yet so gross. And he had to run to the shower, and he had to go take a shower because he had to go wash his crap off before practice. And I don't know why I'm saying that, but it was something that totally stuck with me. It happened like 25 years ago, but yet it's still fresh in my mind.
No.
It kind of.
Hey, you said you've been listening to me for years, and I'm big on poop jokes, so I love a good poop story.
yeah, it was insane.
Oh, that's great, man. All right, well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Trev, but I really do appreciate you coming on, and hopefully, you know, we can do this again, and we can talk about, you know, stuff like this. Just to, like I said, I want to educate people. I want people to come away with a better understanding of not only, you know, their culture or our sport, but other people's culture and kind of the trials and tribulations that some people have gone through to be a part of our sport. And, you know, I just want to coexist. Like, we just want to make the world, you know, better for everybody. So, you know, I really appreciate you coming on. I want everyone to go look at your podcast over just Res Hockey. Is it just Res Hockey on Facebook?
Yeah.
Like at Res Hockey? That's
I think it's Res Hockey Podcast, I think.
Let me just look. We're going to get this thing right before we get off here. Hold on. Res... boom, 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 boom. But it is a good podcast. I mean, if you're listening to my show, you probably like hockey, or at least you like sports. You need to go over and listen to them. It is Res Hockey Podcast, REZHOCKEY podcast. Go check them out. Yeah. They're growing, they're getting bigger, and they got some good stories. So go listen to them. And Trev, thanks a lot for coming on and talking about it. And anytime you want to come on, you're more than welcome. And hopefully we'll get back on the ice together soon, and I'll put you in a high draft round because I know that's where you belong.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, man, I miss you. I haven't seen you in a while, and I want to come play in your tourneys, and hopefully one day you and I get to play on the same team.
We never have got that. Like, I played with Big Earn. I played with Big Earn's brother, but I never got you. So we'll get you eventually.
Yeah, because I don't think I've ever want to face off against you.
Yeah, that's literally the only thing I'm good at. Like, I can't score, I can't skate, but I can face off like a motherfucker. So, let's do that. I mean, we're obviously with this new gig, we're expanding into Eastern Canada. We just booked St. John's, Newfoundland. I'm working on Halifax, and I am working on Toronto. So I know I'll get one close to you soon.
Yes, for sure. I'll be there for sure. But yeah, thanks for having me, and let's do this again. I had a lot of fun. Thanks.
All right, Trev. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, buddy.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye. All right. That was Trev. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hey, one thing I want to talk to you about, Jason, from that interview was we talked about, I guess, Native American indigenous imagery in sports, such as team names. Like, obviously the Cleveland Indians, they changed. Washington Redskins, they've changed. What are your thoughts on that? Like, are you cool with it? Like when we talked to Trev was just like, obviously he just said in the interview, as long as it's respectful, you know, the thing about the Indians is just that no one looked like that. And they called him like Chief Wahoo. And so that was a little disrespectful. But Trev loves like the Chicago Blackhawks. He loved the fight and Sioux. He thought those were cool. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you know, the Washington was a no-brainer. You know, your team name is basically a slur, so like you got to get rid of that one. Same thing with the Indians because of the old logo. You know, I know that was you know, offensive to a lot of people, just to kind of cartoonize and like over dramatic features and that sort of thing. So, you know, I'm with all that. You know, like you, I'm a middle class white male, so I don't understand necessarily kind of. I can't put myself in Trev's shoes, right? Like I don't understand
exactly
kind of what that feels like. But I've heard from many people that are in, you know, Indian communities or whatever that, you know, the Blackhawks is not offensive. It was, you know, it was named for a specific reason, and it was, you know, meant to be kind of a sign of respect and that sort of thing. So like, I try to kind of take myself out of it and listen to, you know, what, you know, Native Americans or indigenous people in Canada would say. And, you know, I kind of let them be the leaders in that and say like, hey, if it's offensive to them, then, you know, we need to talk about changing it.
Yep.
But I think there were a few, like I said, like obviously the Washington one was like, it's a no brainer. Like we can't have a team named this, again, basic. It'd be like having a team in Alabama called the Alabama Honkies or something, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Alabama White Trash. Like, I mean, that's essentially the same thing. And, you know, I think that was a no brainer, but yeah, I just try to listen to what, you know, people that are in that situation say and what's offensive to them. And, you know, I generally don't disagree because, you know, I have to go off how they feel
it's
and
not us.
kind of their perspective.
Yeah,
on it.
I mean, if it's offensive to them, like
Exactly.
it's not gonna be offensive to us because like we're not Native American or indigenous, right? And that's what the hard part is. Like I always say, like we could solve a lot of things if we just sat down and talked. And the problem is that especially like what I learned when I moved to like in Oklahoma, obviously like Nashville, it's a very, you know, old school place, and there's a lot of hate and bigotry still around in a lot of places, not just Nashville, not just Oklahoma, but where I'm from. I just didn't feel ever comfortable like asking questions about different cultures to the people, right? And so like I moved to Canada,
Right.
I moved to Calgary, and it's way more like accepting and maybe not, accepting, but just I guess way more like a melting pot, I guess. And like I felt way more comfortable. Like it seemed like people were way more apt to, hey, you could ask questions. Like, you know, obviously like when I was in college, 9/11 happened, so you know there was all the hate with, you know, the Muslim community and like I just couldn't understand because I didn't want to ask the questions because I didn't want to offend anyone, but I just wanted to learn. And so I like that about Canada. So it was nice to be able to sit down with Trev and just ask him some questions that I had. And basically it came down, I was like, hey, we're not going to get offended by questions, especially if you're coming from a place of respect and wanting to understand. So ask all the questions,
Right.
and then find the answers. Right.
Yeah.
And I think if everyone kind of took that there and was like, okay, this is what it is portrayed in the world, but this is what the actuality is, I think the world would be a better place. And, you know, it's cool to be able to talk to people on that, especially on the show that's mainly about sports, because I mean, sports is about people. And so if more people got along, then sports would be way better. Right. So,
yeah.
So, but anyway, that's the show
Absolutely.
today. Oh, sorry. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Cool.
I'm with you.
All right, well, that's the show today, guys. Hey, go Beer League Jersey Fundraiser. Big secret project. It's not really about suing goalies, but I know sometimes some of you guys would like to. Come to our draft experiences. We got a bunch of them. Got a bunch of BLPA bashes coming up next year where you can bring your team, and hopefully we'll see you guys there. Jason, anything to add before we go?
No, man. I'm with it.
All right, find him at Beer League Jason. Find me at Nicker Jones. Find us both at the BLPA. Be good or be good at it.